A reparation, universal gravitation, a universal fake, the earth, an outstretched plane, sun, moon, and stars, small bodies near the earth, astronomical and scientific evidence, the Einstein theory refuted. A reparation. I feel that in choosing the above title to cover the following pages, I have taken an appropriate one, because I believe there are many ancient and simple truths which have long lain crushed, marred and hidden beneath the rubbish of tradition, or of science, falsely so called. I believe that a terrible breach has been made in the true science of the universe. Therefore, it is eminently fitting and proper that a reparation of the breach, a restoration of paths to dwell in, should be attempted and made. And I am glad to know that as regards the science of astronomy, this attempted reparation and restoration has been in progress for about half a century, and that it is now making permanent, though somewhat slow advancements. I am also happy to have the privilege of supplying a little material and doing a little labor on this grand structure. I make no claim to entire originality in the ideas presented herein, though I do claim originality in part. I have tried to follow the maxim of some good thinker who said, "Think for thyself. One good thought known to be thine own is worth 100 gleaned from fields by others sown." Though I have thought for myself, yet I have not scorned to glean from other fields, on the principle that a borrowed tool is better than no tool at all. But these borrowed thoughts are now my very own, and none can ever rob me of them. However, I cheerfully and freely give them to you, and most earnestly beseech you to think them over, until they become yours also. There is that which scattereth and yet increaseth, wherein I present the thought which I have gleaned, and which is now mine. I do not deem it necessary to always indicate the fact by marks of credit, but where the thought is given in an author's own words, I shall take care to indicate it. So by proper marks, I make as my brief statement as brief as is admissible to permit of clearness. I am not an eloquent man. Eloquence consists in saying 100 words and meaning but one. I am blunt enough to just speak out the one word I mean, and let it go at that. It is easier to understand and remember one pointed word than 100 vague ones. I wish to get merely the skeleton facts, the framework of truth before the minds of intelligent thinking people, and they may clothe it with oratory, may dress it in the gewgaws of eloquence if they so choose. It was once said to me, "Do you know you think different from almost everybody else in the world?" Well, I've got to think different in order to be right, and I'd rather be right than be any other way. After years of diligent research and careful study, I am forced to the conclusion that the theory of universal gravitation and a whirling globe are merely unproved and unprovable theories, and that the earth on which we live on is outstretched stationary plane. In the following pages I set forth the reasons which I entertain, together with the evidence I have accumulated, which has established in my mind the foregoing belief. Let us therefore proceed to the consideration of universal gravitation. Universal gravitation. As a fundamental proposition on this, I will state that I believe the theory of universal gravitation to be a universal thing. What is gravity? A definition of the term I give in the language of its supporters. Professor Lang, an American astronomer, says there is a force in existence which we call gravitation. What is this force? Simply the pull that all bodies exert upon one another. Popular Science Recreations by G. Tissanandia, pages 486 and 487 says, "Gravitation is the force which keeps the planets in their orbits. Every object in the world universe tends to attract every other object in proportion to the quantity of matter of which each consists. Agnes Gibbon, in Sun, Moon and Stars, page 43, says, every single atom in every single body pulls on every other atom, whether near or far, the nearer always the stronger and pulling. Professor H. U. Stevens of South America opines that gravity is the tendency of all bodies in the universe to pull all other bodies down upon themselves. That is, in other words, gravitation tends to make all bodies rush together into one vast mass. Webster's Unabridged Dictionary describes it as the tendency of a mass of matter towards its central body. The tendency of all matter in the universe towards all other matter. The act of being drawn towards something. So, to simply it, as Lang has done it, is the tendency in all bodies to exert a pull on all other bodies. Or, it really is the pull. Sir Isaac Newton formulated the law of universal gravitation, which he credited with having been discovered as follows. Every particle of matter in the universe attracts every other particle, with a force directly proportional to the mass of the attracting particle, and inversely to the square of the distance between. That is to say, the greater the mass of the nearer it is, the greater will it be its attractive force, its pulling tendency, and the less of the mass of the greater the distance, the less will be the so-called attractive force. The Earth has the pulling power. The Earth has the power of pulling objects towards itself. This wonderful power is called gravity. Ridgway and Hinman's Advanced Geography, page 5. The Earth, the Sun, the Moon and the stars possess gravity. That is, each has the power to pull loose objects towards itself. And now, since we have before us the meaning of the term and the law action of this mysterious power, we inquire what is its relation to the science of astronomy, and what is its importance in connection with that science. Let Sir Robert Ball, Astronomer Royal of Great Britain, in his Story of the Heavens, page 82, tell us. The law of gravitation which underlies the whole of astronomy. Hence we see that astronomers themselves consider gravitation absolutely necessary to their system, indeed the very foundation of it all. But I deny that there is any such force in existence, and I may express my denial in the language of Sir Isaac Newton himself, written in a letter to his friend, Dr. Bentley, just a short time before the death of Newton, that gravity should be an innate and inherent in matter, so that one body can act upon another at a distance, is to me so great an absurdity that I think no one who has in philosophical matters a competent faculty of thinking can ever fall into it. I agree with Sir Isaac, for I too think it is so great an absurdity that none who has thought competently in the philosophical matters can ever fall into it, and as evidence that it is a universal fake, an absurdity, and an impossibility for an action to be such as it is claimed for it, I present you the following proportions or propositions, any one of which by itself clearly proves my premise. Much more do all of them together prove it, and so they wholly disprove and suppose universal law.